Workflow automation is a really big trend right now. And actually, surprisingly, N8N is even a much bigger trend than AI workflow or workflow automation. This trend has been growing really, really fast over time. And you can see that the interest over time worldwide has been pretty big. And this is me here comparing it with AI workflow versus workflow automation versus, we're going to say Zapier right here. So you can get a really good overview of how crazy it compares to that. So now a lot of people are familiar with N8N, but don't necessarily know how to generate N8N workflow. And this is where 8 Notes comes in, because you don't need to know how to generate N8N workflow. You just need to know how to prompt, how to do context engineering, and how to use 8 Notes. And using 8 Notes is just using natural language, so you type exactly what you need and you get the workflow that you expect. So I'm going to show you an example right now using an image. So I've been spending a lot of time optimizing 8 Notes image generation. The thing that I want to focus on with this tool is making it so that it sees the best things to take an image from somewhere and generate a workflow from that image of a workflow, or even describe it and generate a workflow from that. There will be other tools that will do something like that, where you can write a prompt and generate a workflow, but I want it to be the best for if you take an image and you have an idea of a workflow from somewhere else, and you want to generate this exact same workflow, or you create a schema, you want to, you just like sketch something on a document of how you want your workflow to work. I want this tool to be the best at understanding the context of your image and generating the best workflow from that. So I'm going to show you an example right now, because I've been spending a lot of time improving that ability. So I was just going over X right now, and I found this workflow. So this is just a basic example that I'm going to show you. So I'm going to take a screenshot of that, right? So this is really going to show the power of 8 Notes. So let me take a screenshot. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this one right here. We're going to save that to the desktop, and we're going to head over to 8 Notes, and I'm just going to select that image that I just created, which is this one right here. Add it, and then I'm just going to say generate this workflow. And this is just enough for 8 Notes to understand exactly what you need in order to generate it. And before I generate it, I want to make sure that we go through that workflow so that you have an understanding of what it's going to generate. So it's going to generate a trigger, which is going to be a scheduler, and then it's going to have a code node, today's date, then get rows in sheet, so a Google Sheet node, then another code node here, then an HTTP request, another code node, and a Gmail node to send message or an email. So now I'm going to head back to 8 Node, and we're going to generate this workflow. So some of the things that I've been building behind the scene with 8 Node is a better way for it to generate more complex workflow. This is not a complex workflow, but this is some of the things that I've been working on. And how it does that is it's doing asynchronous generation. So it's generating something, you don't have to wait for it, and when you'll come back, the workflow will be completed. But that only happens when you're doing something more complex, that is more than a certain number of nodes. And then the ability that you allow us to have now, you don't get timeout, because we've been having a lot of timeout, but now you don't get that. So we've generated the workflow. So let me show you, and we're going to compare exactly with our expectation of what we wanted to generate. So we have a schedule trigger, we have a code node, we have a Google Sheet node, we have another code node, we have an HTTP request, a code node, and a send email. And this is exactly the same workflow that we saw on this image that it was able to generate. And this is the power of 8 Nodes. Now, 8 Node has other, hidden secret. I mean, I'm going to say hidden features or power that I want you guys to be aware of. And I'm going to push this capability so that more people are able to utilize that with N8N. So N8N is very hard to troubleshoot, because when you're using N8N, it's hard to get context of what's happening, what kind of bugs you're getting. But you can get a lot of context about the node inside of 8 Node. And you can even switch to ask mode to ask questions about a specific workflow. So one thing that I want to do is making it easier for people to chat with their workflow more effectively inside of 8 Nodes by either taking their workflow from N8N, bringing that into 8 Node, and getting more context into how the workflow works or how they could improve it, and technically chat with AI to make it better. So that's just another capability that I want to bring inside of 8 Node. So I'm going to quickly walk you through some of the features right now. So we've seen the workflow right now, but we can actually click on some of those nodes and get context in terms of, what kind of node type this is and what are the current configuration. And this is read only. It's just to give you context about the node that you created. And you even have how the JSON output actually look like. Right now on N8N, they don't really show you this thing. You can copy that, paste that into a text file and see it, but they don't really show you directly from the app. So you can also click on the code node, see what was passed over here. And sometimes, if you're not getting the right parameter, right configuration, you can just head over here, switch to agent mode, and say what you want 8 nodes to fill in. And it'll take care of that and enter the right information. So you can get more context about each individual nodes and how they work, and then what's the configuration. You can also head over here, which shows you all the workflow nodes. And whenever a node is a commission node, it'll get you an alert that you need to install that inside of N8N for this to work. And you can also copy the JSON, which is super helpful for debugging. Like the ability to copy individual JSON or copying, the code, make it super easy for you to actually work with it. Now, another thing that this thing has is it gives you a complete breakdown of the N8N workflow JSON. So how it works, what's the current breakdown, the different nodes. We can actually be also helpful for you to revise things and also reviewing that and copying that inside of N8N. And finally, I want to show you one more thing because 8 nodes works really well with N8N directly. And to do that, I first need to start the server. So we're going to start an N8N server right here on a local environment. And if you have something running inside of the cloud version, then you'll be fine. So it'll be running at localhost 5678. Once you have your local server running, you can just head over here and click on that button to do the N8N integration. It's going to directly connect you to your local instance if you have local instance set up. If you haven't something set up preemptively in your configuration, then it will ask you to provide the URL. But once this is set up, you can just hit create workflow, and that is going to create your workflow inside of N8N. So you can then just click on open in N8N, and you will see that same workflow that we just created directly inside of N8N, working exactly as it should. Again, I'm going to head back to the image. This is exactly the same workflow, which is crazy. We just use a prompt and we generated that in just a few seconds. And that could have taken that person, 15, 30 minutes to do. But it just took us a few seconds to generate that just from an image. And I can work with simple to complex workflow as well. And that just works. And now you might notice sometimes it might give you some, it's just your parameter spreadsheet ID is required. This is just like telling you that you need to provide your credential. So my credential already here, and I just need to provide the name of the spreadsheet, and then this is going to be good to go and set up. And then you can see here, we already have some of the code written. Here, for lack of context, it just say today's date. So we just took the assumption from that. This is not the correct code, but this is where you get the power of 8 nodes, is that we can just head over here and modify this thing if we wanted to. And you do that by just submitting a prompt like this one. So we're getting here, I successfully updated the today's date node as requested. I replaced existing code with that node with code that retrieve today's date and in ISO format. And that's all you need to do in order to change the value here. And then you can copy that and replace it inside of N8N. So if you guys have any feedback, please hit the feedback button, give feedback about the app, feature that you like to see, share your experience. I would love to hear your feedback about how this is working. I've been working really hard on making this thing better every single day, but keep in mind that a node may make mistakes, so please use this with discretion. And I hope you enjoyed today's video. Well, thank you for watching, and I see you guys in the next one.